Hey guys. Hey, welcome.
Hey
How's
guys,
everyone doing today?
doing awesome.
Oh, good.
Thanks for asking.
I'm glad you're everyone. You know what? I'm glad that, because here's the question. How is everyone doing today? What do you expect everyone to answer or one person to answer for everybody? I think that's more appropriate. How is everyone doing
And
today? Oh, yeah, I think everyone's doing good. Awesome.
they're doing awesome, man. Look
Yeah.
look at them type on the chat. They're doing
Yeah.
great.
Hey, now say brack attack black, brack a flack attack. Hey, is that Josie or
That'd
Jose?
be Jose.
Probably Jose, since
We've got
last
some
name is Spanish. Chris, Sai, Summer. So yeah, today oh, and also Moon. I like that name. It's cute. Gray. So we've got Don't Freak Out Friday today, or Don't Fret Friday. I don't know what you want to call it, whatever, but it's not Don't
flip
Worry
out front.
Wednesday. Because we unfortunately are not powerful enough to turn a Friday into a Wednesday. We can't say that today is a Wednesday.
Right. It's not a
But
Wednesday anywhere, actually.
that's true. Not even on Mars or
Do they
Saturn.
have Wednesday on Mars?
They have, yeah.
They might.
Yeah, I mean, how do you tell time on Mars? The sun rotates differently around you. That's right. It's the sun rotating. Guys,
That's
don't
right.
believe
The sun
anybody
rotates
else who says
around
anything
Mars.
other than the sun is rotating differently around Mars than it is the Earth. There's like they've got like 15 days in their week. Is it Wednesday on Mars? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know what day it is on Mars. Go ask an astronaut.
You would need to ask a Martian. An astronaut probably would not know, unless the
That's
astronaut asked the Martian.
true. Mhm.
Yes, Jose, I'm confused as well.
Hey, Kirby. Welcome. So, anyways, welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday or Don't Freak Out Friday, where we basically just answer any questions you guys have as far as things that you're worried about or concerned about in life, or maybe a friend's concern that you maybe are trying to help solve for them. It could be family issues. It could be dealing with your homework and how to stop procrastinating, or maybe you're having back problems. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in your life, but let us know, and we'll do our best to to assist you. We're not professionals in any way as far as it goes with uh, advice, but we like to give advice, as anyone does, but hopefully to help you out, to give back to you guys and all of your support that you give us. So,
Yes.
anyhow,
Yes.
um,
I'm having back problems.
oh, are you?
Yes, I
Okay.
left my combat stick at the martial arts school and I haven't gotten it back yet.
Oh, nice. That kind of back
So
problems.
that's a back problem.
That is a back problem. Never heard of that kind of back problem, but that's
That
great.
it was horrible.
That's perfect. Yeah, that sounds pretty terrifying. I think terrifying is the right word. That sounds pretty horrible,
Can we
though.
help Chris Chu wake up?
Yeah. Put your headphones on really loud and then ah.
Wake up!
Yeah, there you
Hopefully
go.
that
Yeah, that was it.
yes. Sai is having back problems too. Yes, back
Mm.
problems are difficult. Um, so a Mars day is 37 minutes longer than an Earth day.
Hmm.
Whoa.
Just 37 minutes. Wow, that's not long at all. That's surprising
I
if,
know.
if that's the truth. So let's see if there's any. Why did that work? Wake me up. Wake me up inside.
That's a good song.
That is a good song. They did a really good job on that song.
Mhm. Yes, they did. So, do we have any questions in the place website
Um,
thing?
yes. Let's see. Um, how do I order these in sort by? Start date. There we go. It doesn't look like we've had anything added to the questions and slash topics for the live stream in a long while. So I think we haven't been recording them for the last ones.
Okay. Kirby's right shoulder blade occasionally hurts. Any way to help? There are ways. It depends on what the pain is caused from. So it depends. Sometimes a shoulder issue can be caused by too strong of muscles in front or too strong of muscles in the back, and then the thing would be to do exercises on the opposite side of your stronger muscles. But it's tough to know, and I can't really counsel you in any direction on that.
That's interesting.
I do find, generally speaking, that stretching and moderate exercise can help a lot of things. Back problems, shoulder problems. You'll obviously have muscle aches from the exercise, soreness and stuff like that. But I find that just working, and you don't have to like go crazy or anything, but just getting yourself in a couple steps higher shape than you are right now may do a lot for relieving some of that stuff. And you can take Tylenol.
And you can take Tylenol. Why your back hurts right now is because you haven't been taking enough Tylenol. I could actually see that on a commercial, which is terrible.
Yes. You need to fill your body with more chemicals.
Yes.
And that.
Okay, it's definitely not the reason.
Yes.
You have an imbalance of Tylenol. You need more. Please ask your doctor before asking your doctor.
Oh, yes. And always the disclaimer before starting any exercise program is you should consult a physician before starting any exercise program.
Oh, wow. Is that really what they say?
That every time. It's amazing.
I probably shouldn't get out of bed then.
You better not.
Consult my physician.
Consult a physician before you get out of bed.
Oh man. Danger.
Yep. But stretching might go a long way too. Consistently. So
yeah, that's true. Both of those things. Usually what they ultimately tell you in if you go to see people who are trying to help you recover from aches and pains and stuff, a lot of it is stretching. And just subtle workouts.
Yep.
Nothing intense, just
yeah, like recovery from surgery and all that kind of stuff. And some of the exercises are really, really weird.
They are weird, and some of the stretches are really weird too.
But that's what like they, if it's something that's nagging and it's been there for a while, it might be good to go see a doctor, just to get an idea. Then you have, what's causing the problem, and then they can give you the proper exercises in order to strengthen the right areas in order to get rid of it. But yeah, I mean, I know most of the time it's just so much easier to take a pill, but that's only a temporary solution. It's not going to fix it overall. So I find that as much physical therapy can be also pain and torture, but on the other end of it, you do end up in much better shape than you were before. You actually fix the problem rather than just trying to cover it up with pain meds and stuff.
And that's usually applies to pretty much all problems in life. Go through a little bit more pain, forcing yourself to go through a little bit more pain before you can get better. Okay, so is this our first question here by Sai?
From Sai, it looks like it.
All right, so here we are. Says advice on getting confident, motivated. I've been trying to sing again for my channel for the last 2 months, but I can't bring myself to finish anything without feeling disgusted with my own voice. or I don't know how to explain it honestly. Okay.
First thing you need to do, Sai, is post a link to your channel.
Actually, if you just click on her, that would work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you well, not click on her, but if you highlight her comment, you click on the right. There's three dots, and then you can say go to channel.
Oh yeah,
It's
look at
pretty
that.
cool, isn't that?
Nice.
I've used that a
Yeah,
couple of times
because I want to check out that channel.
Yeah. Psy is actually an amazing singer.
Hmm.
And I'm not just saying that to boost her confidence. I'm actually just telling Joe. We've had her in our karaoke. That's the first time I ever heard her. She was in our Discord and she went to karaoke and she sang. And I was very impressed. She's
Hmm.
a great singer. And she's even better now than when she was when we first met. So yeah. Sai, how do you get yourself to be confident and motivated in yourself? I would say I think that, yeah, I'll just let Joe go first and then I'll comment on it.
Well, I have some thoughts on that, and
Mm.
Ryan, you know them, so you go.
Yeah, well, I am reading your mind right now, but I've decided not to take the things that you had to say away from you. So I'm gonna let you go first.
Oh, yes. Okay. Getting confident and motivated. Sometimes that's a tough thing, and I also struggle with that. I will struggle with because I know the things I need to do in order to get further in my projects that I'm working on. And it's like, okay, I got to take this step, this step, this step, and this step. And I'm tired. I don't
Hmm.
want to. I just worked all day, sometimes that's the case, or I had a late night the night before and then I worked all day. And then I get back and I'm like, I sit down at my computer and I'm like, okay, I got to do this now.
Or some days you're just like, it's my day off and I'm tired. And I haven't done anything all day, and it's what
Yeah,
I want to do, even though I really don't want to.
right. Yeah. Or I just got beat up extra at martial arts class and now I really don't feel like doing anything because I
Oh, you cut out, Joe. Uh oh. Uh oh. Uh oh. He's gone. Oh, he's back. No, that's not him. Nope. Yeah, we can't hear you.
just,
Oh, terrible. Hey, hey, oops. Hey, Joe. We don't hear you. I am sorry.
just that sounds about right. That my
Yeah, we
audio
can hear
stopped
you
working
now.
again.
All
Right at
right.
the moment when I say the thing you got to do is,
Yeah, and then
and then nothing. No, I can totally hear myself though.
yeah,
But I saw your face and I was like, "Oh, great. I know
yeah,
that
I
face.
agree. What's
That's the
happening?
face. That's the face of my sound going off."
Yes, Joe.exe has crashed. That's great. All right, you're back.
I'm back.
You
So
go for
let's
it.
try this again. So the thing, I mean, I guess the thing you got to always be asking yourself is why do you want to be doing that? So many things in life that are important to do, it's not like they're hard to do. It's probably not hard for you to sing. It sounds to me like you're good at it, and I can't wait to check out your channel and, hear it because Ryan says you're good, and his I trust his opinion. Um, so I would imagine it's not like it's super difficult for you to sing or to get things set up to sing and do all that kind of stuff. It might just be kind of annoying to get everything set up. I know that's the case sometimes, getting everything going and getting the right software going and your microphones and your stuff and you get it in your headphones and get it all together and then get started. And by the time you're going though, at least if you're anything like me, by the time I'm actually in the moment doing it, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing because I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And it's just the time beforehand and it's just like, and it's looking at having to do it. I know I got to do it. I don't really feel like it. In those moments, it always helps to remember Why? Why are you doing this? You know, are you doing this to grow your channel so you can, have an income or whatever? Are you doing this so you can reach lots of people with your voice? Are you doing, what's the reason? Are you doing it to express yourself? And this is a way, you're excited about, you know, getting yourself out there and letting the world see, what you're all about. I mean, all of those things can be motivators, but I would take a step back when you don't feel motivated and when you just, you don't feel like doing what you know you need to do. Take a step back and remember why. That's always the more important question. So many of us get caught up in figuring out how to do things. But the way more important question is why are you doing it? And if you can't come up with a good enough reason why, then try harder at coming up with a good reason why. You know, maybe it's that you're disgusted with a certain way life is, and so you have a negative motivator where it's like, I just can't stand this part of my life. So I want to fix it. I want to change it. And this is the way I can do it. And so then, that can be super motivating, to when you're looking at something that you can't stand about your life that you want to change. And then you see the way you want to change it. I play that game with myself all the time. I look at, the current way I make a living in property inspections, and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to be doing this forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that is a motivator to just like, okay, I'll stay up extra. I will, drink coffee. I'll do whatever I have to do in order to stay up and get a little bit of extra work done if it means that I can shorten my time in the inspections field, or I'll look at pictures of my kids. I'll look at pictures of, like my family and, the house that we want to have or the cottage we're looking at, hopefully having in the future. You know, I'll look at pictures of other things. I have pictures of a studio, like this really awesome looking professional studio. Uh, and I took it as funny. I kind of photoshopped some BSS logos in there, you
Nice.
know? So I have like in the vocal booth there's a BSS up on the ceiling, that I photoshopped in there. And I'm like, that reminds me, yes, we're going to have BSS studios. It's going to be like this pro line studio that's going to be amazing, you know, a big, huge live room with drum sets. And then the bass drum has the BSS logo on the bass drum, you
Nice.
know,
Nice.
I love it. But yeah, but those things just spark my memory bank going and help me to remember, okay, this is why I need to do this. So now it's a lot easier to get started. But then once you're started and you're going, it's easy to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
It's just getting yourself over that little hump of getting started and then you're good. So if you can find a way just to say, okay, I'm just going to start. And if it only lasts for 5 minutes, then so be it. In fact, when I was having trouble, when I was always tired, I was always busy, and I was like, I need to get some songs done here. Um, what I would do is I would set a goal for myself that day. I'm just going to open the project in the software. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to open it because that's the very first step. It's like, okay, I'm going to sit at my computer and before I do anything else, I'm going to open the project and I'm just going to look at it. I'm not even going to press play. I'm just going to look at it.
I've done that.
Yep. And then I open it and then I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, I want to hear what that sounds like. And I go to press play. I'm like, no, I wasn't going to press play. And then I start getting in this rebellion. I want to rebel against myself. So then I hit play.
Nice.
So
I don't have
then,
time. It's like when you don't have time for it or something.
yeah. Yeah. But then the time comes and then you're there and you're like, oh man, I remember how great this is,
Mm.
and you remember how much you love it and you remember why you're doing it. But yeah, if you can just Get yourself to jump over that one little thing. How do I get started? How do I start to get started? Maybe you got to go back that far, you know? Maybe it's just as simple as plugging in a microphone. But the very first step is always the hardest to take. And then after that, the next ones come way, way easier. And then before
Mhm.
you know it, you're having a blast and you're loving it. So, Ryan, I will let you take it from here.
Yeah. Excuse me. It's kind of interesting. This applies to physics too. If you have a ball sitting there and you try to push it, that's the hardest time like, so a ball that's already in motion, you trying to push it forward, it's easy. It's already moving, you
Mm,
know?
mhm,
Once you get the ball rolling, it just keeps on rolling because of the momentum. If the ball is rolling towards you and you have to push it away, it's still easier to push it the other way than it is if it's standing still, because all you need is an object that it will hit into and then start rolling in the opposite direction. The hardest point to move an object a certain direction is when it's at a standstill. And I think that's also how we are in life. A lot of times, you know, the hardest time to start doing something is just, or the hardest time to do something is just the start. You have to
mhm,
just start. And one suggestion I might have for that is to not make the weight on starting so big. So the heavier the object, the harder it is to push, right?
mm, mhm,
And so the longer you wait, the more weight builds up. The more you do things that have nothing to do with the project, or things that you science the things the things that are really kind of actually just wasting your time, um, end up adding weight to the start point. For example, entertaining yourself with mindless entertainment. Even some humorous videos, even though they're funny, they can just be mindless and they could be of no help to you as a person. And those are weighty things that cause you to not want to start even more.
mhm,
Later on, you'll be like, okay, I want to, get this ball rolling. I want to actually do something. I want to work. But then you're like, but I'll just watch like one video first, I guess. One funny video first. Maybe that'll get me motivated and then I can, get that off my chest and go work. But it does the opposite, you know? Um, so a lot of times the the weight to moving forward is built up every point in time that we're not doing something that's meaningful, because the more time you add meaningless to your life, the harder it is to get rolling on something that's meaningful.
mm.
So try to limit the amount of pointless entertainment, I guess, um, or drugs. Just kidding. Or alcohol. No. But yeah, that's some advice that I can give you. Yeah, I do know that it's blocked in China. It's kind of interesting. Um, but yeah, YouTube is blocked in China, and maybe for good reason. Maybe for bad one too. An anime can some anime is great and some anime is not. You just have to figure it out. I generally just don't like watching movies or anime in general if it doesn't have a good message to it. If it
Mm,
doesn't, I just turn it off after a certain period of time. I'm like, it's really not piquing my interest and it's not giving me anything in life. It's not adding to me, and that means it's not worth my time. It's probably going to be worse for me than it is going to be good. So Um, yeah, and that's one suggestion I would have is limit the amount of time that you are doing unproductive things.
mhm,
That'll make it easier for you to start doing the things that really bring joy in life. And the second thing I want to say is about being worried about how your voice sounds. um, you have a great voice. But I'll tell you, everybody goes through that. Everybody
mm.
doesn't like the way that their own voice sounds at first until they get used
Especially
to it,
recorded.
especially recorded, right? If you record your voice and you listen to it and you're like, oh, I don't like how this sounds, You know, I don't think I sound like a real singer. I don't think my voice in the song sounds right. I don't think that people will be able to listen to this and hear me as like a professional singer. Like, oh yeah, this is a real good singer. They'll just hear it as if some random person tried to dub a song and they did a very terrible job because their voice doesn't match it.
Mhm.
Everybody thinks that. When I write my songs, you think, oh, like, you know, his voice belongs to those songs. It works really well with them, etc. I don't know. I just sing it. You know, that's all I can do. All I can do is sing it. And obviously, I do some EQing and some reverb and stuff like that. Obviously, that's important. And sign, you know about that kind
And
of stuff.
compression,
Compression is key.
that's
Yes,
key.
that's the big key for
Mhm.
vocals. Um, but yeah, I mean, as long as you do that, there's nothing you can do about how your voice sounds. Your voice will sound as it sounds, and that's good. Um, there's all sorts of different voices in the world, and all sorts of people who like different stuff. Some people
Mhm.
like one voice versus another. I like Joe's voice, and Joe didn't like Joe's voice.
No, my
But
voice is
everybody doesn't like their own voice at first. But Joe, are you okay with your voice now?
you know, I'm still working on it. I will say the next song that's going to be released, I'm more satisfied with my voice on that one than I was on the previous song. And I don't know if it was just because of better processing, because I'd learned some things since then, or I don't know. But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you've also,
When
as
I'm
you sing more, you're
singing,
getting better at singing too. So,
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, the more you do something, the more you grow at, at doing it, and you get better. I'm sure that you always just knew that your voice sounded like an angel, which it does.
who? Mine?
You, yes.
No. Not at all.
Because ever since the first time I heard you sing, I'm like, the clouds parted
Aw, it's so
and like
sweet.
the light shined through and it was like, oh,
Aw.
and I'm like that voice.
That's that's funny because like when I hear my voice, especially when I was younger, I was hearing my voice. I'm like, man, that's the cringiest voice I've ever heard. But who else is gonna sing this song? you
That's
know,
right.
and it's funny because if you think my voice is nice, then just remember your mom's comment about is that you singing or is that him? I can't tell.
That's right.
So when she doesn't know the difference between our two voices, then your voice, if it sounds like mine, then it's great.
Well, part of it,
If
I
you think
mean,
my voice sounds great.
you made a really, really good point earlier about, the fact that there are all kinds of different voices out there and people like them and people don't like them. I mean,
Mhm,
like, so whatever your voice is, there are people who are going to love it.
mhm,
And there are people who are going to not love it. And there are people who are going to just not care. That's always going to happen.
mhm,
So, but the people who are going to love it, you are robbing them if you don't release material. That's
mhm.
another game I play with myself. It's like, like I always play this game in my head where it's like, okay, there are people that enjoy listening to my voice. Maybe they don't know it yet. Maybe they have yet to hear
Oh,
it.
I know it.
But there
Oh, please keep
but
talking. No.
for those people, for those people, if I don't release more and more material on a consistent basis, I'm robbing them of something they like. And Ryan, the more you don't release stuff
The
on a
more
daily basis,
I'm sorry. Daily. Hi.
you need to get your production speed up a little bit higher so you can, release stuff more. Listen to me talk, Mr. One every couple months guy, you know. But
You are working a full-time job.
what
I don't have an excuse.
so yeah, get on it, man, because you're
Right.
robbing me of something I enjoy listening to, which is your voice, Ryan, and
Mhm, mhm.
I want to hear more of it. So you need to get to work. And Sai, I can't wait to check out your channel. I can't wait to
Yeah.
hear it. And if you don't keep going, you're gonna be robbing me of listening
Yeah.
to you. So if
Yeah.
that helps, just think of me pointing at you going, "Come on, please. I wanna hear more."
There you go.
And if that helps, then great. If it
Mhm.
doesn't, well, then don't think about it. Think of something else.
Think of something else. Yep. There's plenty of reasons. In fact, there's more reasons there than there are not. And that's always the case. And it's just like, yeah, okay. And the hardest part is usually just that first step. And yeah, like Joe said, as soon as you take it, you're good pretty much. You're just like, yeah, I can just continue now. I'd rather continue. That's how it goes.
Mhm.
Cool.
So
So
thanks for the question, Sai,
yeah.
and I hope that helps.
hmm Um, let's see. Do we have any other questions during this time? I don't think
Oh,
so.
Noah just posted something.
All right. What is it? Let's see. It's probably a horribly subjective question that has no real answer, but as someone in a creative field, I have no idea when something is ready and I should put it out there.
Mm.
All right, go for it, Sai.
Yes.
You're awesome.
We will never be offended if we say something that sparks a little bit of motivation in you to get going on something. Please stop our YouTube
Yeah.
stream and go do it.
Yeah. Go do it
Man,
right now. Like, don't even worry about us. You don't have to listen to the rest of
no,
this.
not at all. We will post this. You can watch the rest of it later.
Yeah.
But man, go do it. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, so okay. Noah says someone in the creative field, I have no idea when something is ready and when I should put it out there.
Yeah.
That, oh my gosh. Well, Ryan, you want to start this one?
I've okay, yeah, sure. I realized that this was an issue when I was just first starting writing music in general. And so I quickly learned, and I didn't end up creating a habit out of it, a bad habit out of this. So I think that's why it was easier for me than, for example, Joe. Joe had a hard time figuring out when that point is. For me, it would get to a point where, okay, this sounds like a completed product. Are there things I can do that will make it better? Sure. But do I want to spend that time on it? If the answer is no, it's not worth it anymore. It's time to start the next project, then just start. Um, there are always going to be things like you'll listen to it and be like, oh, I could tweak this or tweak that, or maybe add this little melody here, or take away from this part so that it's more catchy, etc. There's an infinite amount of things that you could always be doing to add detail or making it more pretty. And so it is a hard question to decide. When is it ready? When is it done? When is it complete? And for me, I just use a good enough is good enough rule. You know, if I'm listening to it and I'm satisfied with it, if I think it sounds good, but um, and I've worked out most of the kinks where I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I could spend like 5 more days or whatever on this, or I can just call it good now and post it. Here's the thing: most people don't know what your thing is going to sound like, or could sound like, or what's in your head, or what's broken about it, or missing. You listen to something and you think, oh, they did an awesome job in this song. And then they go, like, yeah, but there's so much other stuff we could have done with it. But you don't know that, right? You're on the other side of it. So everybody else is on the other side of the project um, versus the side that you're on. So just remember, if you think that there's a part and it's like, oh, I could make that better, no one else knows that. So don't get worried about um, how other people might think about it. Other people, like, I remember this in jazz band. We had we would get a chance to play an improvised solo. So you would go in and you would improvise your song, whatever notes you wanted to play. And since every note was up for grabs, you could play a note that totally sounded terrible with the song, and you could hold it for like a full measure and make everything sound so bad. And
That's the
on
beauty of
top of
jazz.
that, they would say he did it on purpose, and that was, if that's what he meant to do, then that was great. And I would be on the other side being like, I can't believe I accidentally hit that note because that sounded so bad. But everybody else was like clapping. Woo, yeah, he did something. Everything he did was like, it was beautiful. And so I'm going to tell you, from that experience, I learned a lot. You know, people people just don't care or notice that much. They look at your creation. Maybe it's a sculpture or something. Um, all you can do is make it look good enough for your opinion. And if it's good enough for you, if it's a good enough to pass, then let it pass, you know?
Mhm,
Um, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be to a point where it's 100% perfect in every way, because it's never going to be, because your mind will never settle.
mhm,
Just make it so that it's to a point where you're like, okay, I'm satisfied with this. This is good. All right, posting. You know, and sometimes what you'll do is you'll post it, or you'll say it's completed. You'll put your project forward to your teacher or whoever. And then you'll realize something later, like, oh my gosh, I actually put the wrong lyric part in that spot. Whoops. Wrong lyrics. What do I do? Okay, well, it's out there now. I'm not gonna repost it. Whatever. It's good. Whatever. I don't care. It's done. Or like in every single one of my videos, there's a spelling error. Who cares? Whatever. It's there. You know what? I'm not gonna go take it back and repost it. You know, good enough is good enough. People still enjoy the song. People still enjoy the video, even if it's got its problems. You know, um, and you know, some people might point those problems out, but you know, it's kind of actually more fun for them to do that. So you're adding to their entertainment.
mm,
People like to point out things that are broken or missing or wrong, and
mhm.
so you're providing for them the opportunity to enjoy themselves by being able to figure out what was wrong with it. So if you want to look at it that way, that's cool too. You know, you're providing enjoyment on multiple different levels. So that's my advice. Um, yeah, just be okay with good enough. Be okay with I'm satisfied. You know, whatever. It's fine. It's got its problems, but you know, it's done. You know, I've spent my time on it, and it's time to move on to the next thing. You know, if you don't want to spend forever working on one thing, because then you'll never get anything done.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's good to put yourself on a time limit and say like, okay, it's got to be done by this day. And if it's not done by that date, it better be done by the next 2 days. And then it's being done, you know, like whatever. Don't give yourself an infinite amount of time to complete something. Only give yourself a set time. I think that helps too. It helps
Yes,
rush you. It also
deadlines.
helps you to push yourself in forward mode, um, rather than recycle mode, where you're constantly doing loops, like listening to the song or recreating it or whatever you're doing the art, drawing the line over and over and over and over and over and over, trying to get it perfect, whatever it is. Instead of going into loop mode, your brain knows only has a certain amount of time, so it's constantly in forward mode. So yeah, deadlines are good helpful tool. So
Yeah,
there you go. That's all the advice I can possibly give. What do you got, Joe? Anything else?
yeah. I heard a I just
Oh, he
was
added
listening
to it just now.
two short stories
Yeah.
for nearly a year, 6 months.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, second guessing yourself is completely natural.
Mhm.
I second guess myself all the time, every day, and those voices do get quieter the more that you produce, but I haven't figured out a way to escape those voices, and I think those voices just kinda keep us in check a little bit, and they keep us humble and keep us from letting our pride just run away
Yeah,
with itself,
that's
you
true.
know? Because really, if you get too prideful, then you just turn into a jerk and, then nobody wants to deal with you anyway. And it can be a great barrier to to you improving. But,
Actually,
there was a gentleman.
if you
Huh?
don't mind, I'd like to talk about that real quick.
Yeah,
Um,
I do mind.
oh, okay. So never
Just
mind.
kidding.
Never mind.
No, go.
I just had a realization. Which is why I want to say it. A lot of people who are super famous are super full of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
There's a correlation there. The self-confidence means that you produce a lot more. And producing a lot more means you get a lot more out there for people to see. Obviously it's not good to be super, like, it's not good to be full of yourself. There's a balance there that's best. But understanding that there's a reason why people who are full of themselves get noticed uh, is a good way to say, okay, all I got to do is do my best and just that's good enough. Be confident in whatever I produce and say, okay, yeah, whatever, it's good. I don't care. People can say whatever they want. I know it's good, and then just keep on doing that, posting or writing stories, whatever you're doing. As I think that confidence is key, and so suggest, yeah, when you second guess yourself, you have to have a line of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, go on. Sorry for the interjection.
No, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, you were saying,
I'm just kidding.
oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I was listening to a gentleman talk about a new book that he had just finished and released, and it's his first book, and he was pretty excited about it, and a lot of people were pretty excited about it, and he had mentioned that while he was in the beginning phase of writing this, he had spoken to a friend of his who was pretty old by this point, and a very wise man, and he had asked him, how come you never put any of this wisdom into a book? And the answer was profound. He said, the good, or no, the great was the enemy of the good. So what he was saying there was, because he was such a perfectionist, he would start writing and he would write, and then he would second guess that. And then he just, he would, it's just not good enough, and he would continue, and he wanted to make it absolutely perfect. And he never released anything because he wanted it to be perfect. And then now he's at the end of his life, and he's, had all these things that he has started and never finished. And that was his answer when this new author asked him, how come you never wrote anything? How come you never published anything? And he's like, well, because I was so concerned with being perfect that it was never good enough. And so I never released anything. And what a disservice, and you could tell he felt down about that, because and it's so true for anybody who's creative. And no, I applaud you for writing, and for looking at publishers and actually taking those steps to figure out, how am I going to get this into the world? And I would say exactly what Ryan just said. At some point it's got to just be good. Ryan knows from firsthand experience about me and my music production, like, I fall into that trap constantly, where I just want something to be so good, and then I will get so sucked into minute details of everything, and before I get this song finished, and I'll just be like, oh, that's not right, oh, that's not right, I need to do that better, I need to get that better, I need to, and there's 15 bazillion things to check on and make better, and every single one of them can be better. That's the thing. You never, ever, 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 ever reach perfection. It's a great ideal to strive for, but there's always going to be something you could do better. When you release it, you're going to hear it and you're going to be like, there's something I could have done better. So I would encourage you, once you release something, don't look at it again and move on to the next one. Just be like, yep, that was good enough. And now it's out there, and now there's nothing I can do with it. So that's it. On to the next one. And incidentally, the song that I'm just finishing now was written what?
2011?
7 years ago. 7 years ago. The song was done. 7 years ago.
The song was done. Yes. and I was like, release it. I love this song, Joe. This is like one of the best songs you've ever written. I love it. And you're like, no. I'm like, why? You're like, I don't like the lyrics. I don't like how it sounds. I don't like
No,
this.
and
Take out the vocals. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I love the vocals. And you're like, no.
nope. But now I like the vocals.
Good. Now you've redone it and you like vocals. Good.
And
Good.
it took me listening, it took me hearing a song and hearing how they had sung a song to be
Mm,
like, "Oh, that's the perfect way for me to sing that song that I wrote 7 years ago." And then I could be like, "Okay, boom." But, you know, I wouldn't be sitting on this song now,
mhm,
you know? Luckily, I could move on to other things and, kind of put that on the back burner and then start on some other projects and then come back to it later now. But You know, I really like the song too. I thought it was a really good song, and, I'm glad that it's just about done now, 7 years later.
yeah.
But yeah, eventually, I think one of the things that helped me overcome some of these hurdles is, when I would listen to stuff on the radio or listen to stuff on Spotify or YouTube or whatever, and I would listen to something that was produced in a high-end professional studio and cost, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to do, and teams of professionals that um, you know, like people who do this for a living. They've been doing this for years and years and years, and they've had stuff that's been platinum records and all these kinds of different things. And these people did these albums and I'd listen to him and I'd be like, "I'd do that better. I'd do that better. I would do that different." Man, the vocals needed more compression. The vocals, the high end on the vocals is too hot. It's too sharp. It sounds a little too hard, too harsh. Whoever mastered this mastered it way too hot. They overcooked this song like ridiculously amounts. And I'm sitting there being critical of these people who put the thing out and sold bazillions of copies and made a whole bunch of money because they
Mhm,
didn't, they got it to the point where it was good enough for a release. They released it, the fans loved it and bought a whole bunch of it or listened to a whole bunch of it, streamed it a whole ton, and a bunch of money came back into the production company. And, they make a living because
mhm,
they're okay with putting something out there. They get it to the point where it's good enough and then it's done. And I learned this very recently in a production course I was taking where the mixing engineer, he was like, "Oh yeah, um, you really gotta trust your instinct. When you're mixing, you just set your levels, you turn some stuff, you get all these things when you're doing a certain task, just get it to a certain point, trust your instincts and move on." You know, and I would encourage you to do that as well. When you're writing your stories, get your plot, get all of those elements in there, and then move on and keep going. And when you put something out there, it's done and you can move on to the next one. Every single release that you have, every single time you publish something, it's a step towards more and more greatness. But if you sit there and work on this one thing and try and make it masterfully, amazingly perfect, you will never move on because it takes actually going through the whole process, publishing, releasing, and taking the next step. That's the next step for you, you know. Whereas, if you get caught in there, it's such an easy trap too. I feel your pain, Noah. I totally do
mhm.
because I get stuck in that trap all the time. And I have to constantly remind myself that I'm the one that's in the trap and I put myself there
Yeah.
and I have the key to get out.
And I won't let me out. Why? What's wrong with me?
Won't let me out. It's amazing. But yes, so man, I'm super proud of you and do it. Just like we
Mhm.
were talking to Sai, do it. You
Yeah.
know, you can and you will. And the more you do it, the better you'll become. And, your first few stories may not get much traction at all. But then eventually you release enough of them before you know it, you're gonna have fans that it doesn't matter. It might be one that you think is terrible, and your fans are gonna love it because it's yours, and they
Mm,
love your style,
mhm.
you know?
Yep, that's true.
You know, Ryan writes songs that I'm sure he doesn't like. I love every single one of them.
Thanks.
Every single one of them. I never get tired of them. I'm
Appreciate
Ryan's biggest fan. You guys might think
that.
you're Ryan's biggest fan. I'm Ryan's biggest fan,
Aw, you
and
guys can fight about that if you want.
I get to work with him.
That's true.
Did I get to I win.
Uh, and I win. Ha! Ooh, I win. I did nothing. So I was gonna say, on top of the whole, if you work on one thing forever, and even if it comes out as a masterpiece, like let's say somehow you manage to get perfection on it, right? Bad news is you've only put out one thing. The chances of anybody finding any of your work are 1 out of a billion.
Mm, mhm,
But I'll tell you what, if you put out 5 things in the time it took you to put out that one thing, your chances aren't just 5 in a billion. Your chances go from like 1 in a billion to like 5 in 10,000 because you've put out multiple different things of different varieties.
mm,
And someone might find your work and like it enough to say, hey, what other kind of stuff has this author done? That's the way it is with music. That's the way it is with authorship. That's the way it is with paintings and art. You know, if you put out something that changes it up, changes the variety, you know, and that's how you end up getting found by people, and then they'll see your other stuff that they would have never seen, even though it was a perfect masterpiece, just because it was only one book or one play or one song or whatever.
mhm.
So yeah, always be kind of more about putting stuff out than it is perfecting one piece. Yeah. So hopefully you find that all of that to be helpful.
Yes. Yes, I know I find it helpful when I hear Ryan talk about, "Just get it out there, please."
Yeah. Like, hey, I want to hear it. Is it done? Because
Is
I
it
don't
done?
care if it's done yet, because I just want to hear it right now.
I just wanna hear it, man. It's almost done.
All right. Better be done tomorrow then.
Don't
I'm
don't
just
worry,
kidding.
you're gonna get to hear it very soon.
Don't worry. It's not Wednesday. We have to worry. It's every no, I'm just kidding. Don't freak out. Don't fret Friday.
Hey, you
So
can eat
yes.
ramen noodles dry, I do that. It
Yes, you can actually. And it's great. And you can have them as like little, like you do with like croutons on a salad,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're
a little bit crunchy.
fantastic that way. Oh, it's great.
Hmm.
It's great. Well, we
Yes.
have some other questions on here. So, are we going to let's see. I think the next one that came was from Summer. Summer
Yes.
says, I've been fairly depressed recently, so much so that I refuse to get out of bed sometimes. It really sucks, and I get envious and angry at my siblings or friends for being better off or whatnot.
Okay. Fair enough.
Uh, Thank you so much for chiming in and asking that, or well,
Mhm.
making that comment, and because
It's
I
good.
think a lot of people struggle with that, and I'm gonna let Ryan take the lead on this one.
All right, sure. Yeah, Summer, that sounds like a really hard time, and I can relate to that. That I think everybody's kind of been in that boat at some point or another in their life. Um, and the thing is, like, you just don't want to get out of bed, and that's the worst thing you can do is just stay in bed. Um, so the first thing I would recommend is when you don't want to get out of bed immediately. Um, because yeah, just laying in bed makes you feel like poop.
Mm,
Um, and
mhm,
because then you're not doing anything with yourself, you're stuck in this loop of feeling bad for yourself, and then you feel bad for yourself for feeling bad for yourself, and then you sit there doing nothing except for feeling bad for yourself, and it sucks. Um, so getting out of bed is very important.
mhm,
Um, so what do you do when you don't want to get out of bed and you're just stuck there and you know it and you're like, man, I need to get out of bed. I don't want to. I just want to sit here and sulk. I think there's this place that we get into and we're attracted to this sulking, this darkness. We fill our mind with this emptiness and pain, and we just want to sit there in it, you know, um, almost as if we're hoping something good will come out of it somehow. Um, but it never does. You know, you sit there and you're like, why doesn't anybody notice me? Or you know, in fact, actually, a lot of times you're like, I hope no one comes to my room and sees me sitting here, because then they'll ask me why I'm sitting here in bed doing nothing, and then I'll have to explain to them I'm depressed, and that's gonna suck, you know. So it's a really bad place to be. And how do you get out of it? You move your legs, just move your body, and you do it. You know, the thing is, it doesn't take that much energy, and moving your body is just something that it is all that it takes. And it's actually, they say that exercise helps your brain to not feel depressed.
Hmm.
I think there's truth in that. I know there's science behind it, but I mean, I think that there's also, honestly,
Science,
I think there's
science, key.
there's there's science behind it, but
There's
I
science.
think that um, but it makes sense in a spiritual level as well, if you will, um, because we are bodies as well as mental thoughts, and they're kind of connected. So, anyways, not to get all weird on you, just trying to say, like, yeah, moving your body helps. Just just move your body and get out of bed. Um, Now, yeah, I think Joe was talking about earlier, motivating yourself with thoughts. Um, you know, with what do you think about? Um, what are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your plans? Sometimes you might say, "Oh, I don't have any of those things." And now's a good time to try to find some.
Hmm.
Um, when you have nothing, you have to discover things, and you have to go out of your way to do so. It's not easy. You have to plan time for yourself to just, all right, I'm going to go online and look at pictures of things that I hope to have someday. A lot of times we start with material things. We say, these are the things I would like to have. How do I get those? Well, I have to work for it. I have to become a better person. I have to grow in my smarts, or I have to grow in my physical body, or whatever. I have to do something to get these things. Um, and sometimes those things may seem out of reach, but sometimes the things that are out of reach, really, they're not that far out of reach. We just need a little bit of changes here and there until we get them, um, or a little time.
Hmm.
So it's important to look at things, or like online, and use your time. This is a beautiful thing. We have the internet today, so you can go online and look at images of things that compel you, to work, or watch things that compel you to work. Even if it's something you've already watched 10 times, watch it again. Who cares? You know, Positive reinforcement is super important, because our brains, a lot of times, I'll tell you this. I've said this before, but the way you look at the world is the way you're going to feel living inside of it, right? If you look at the world and you think, oh, the world is crappy, well, you're going to feel like crap living inside of it. If you look at people and think people are crappy, you're going to feel like crap, because you're a people. You're a person too. So you need to be able to check up on how you perceive the world, how you perceive the world, how you perceive people, how you perceive all of the events that happen in your life. Um, and sometimes, that's not easy, because you're already programmed to think one way. But the thing about perception is that it is a habit, and habits can change. It's in your subconscious mind.
Hmm.
So the more you program yourself to perceive the world in a better way, the more your mind is naturally going to see it that way with ease. Something bad will happen. My first instinct when something bad happens is immediately like, oh, it's pain. Awesome. Okay, what's gonna happen? What can we do with this? A lot of times, not all the time, but most of the time, when I'm confronted with a struggle, my immediate thought is, how are we gonna grow through this? What can we do to make this better? This is gonna turn into something good, and I know it, because it always has in the past, because
Hmm.
I have allowed it to, because I have programmed my mind to think of it that way. And it is true. The way we grow is through pain. You grow your muscles by working out and experiencing pain. The way
Hmm.
you get good at doing tests is you study and you study and you study, and it's not pleasant.
It's painful.
It's painful. I hate it. The way you grow as a human being most of the time is through pain and failure. Um, and so when I see this, every time, almost every time, I do mess up every once in a while, but most of the time when I'm experiencing pain, my brain automatically goes to this habit of thinking, okay, how can, no, this something's good going to come for this. This is how we grow. And it instantly turns it into a positive situation. And I think, you know, programming your mind by listening to better things, by talking to better people, by um, subjugating, whatever, by forcing yourself to see better views, um, and by forcing yourself to really look into those positive ideas, really helps to program your mind to stop seeing the world as bad. So you'll have more of a reason to get into the world, more of a reason to want to be in the world.
Hmm.
Depression is, I've said this a couple times before too, but depression is two things. It's being um, habitually negative and being focused on yourself. That doesn't mean that you're being selfish. I'm not trying to say that. In fact, you could be a relatively selfless person. But remember, selfless isn't charity. Selflessness means that you're disregarding yourself and you're throwing yourself off, but you're also thinking about yourself while you're doing that.
Mm.
Charity is an actual nice medium between the two, where you are upholding yourself to a level of value while you hold other people valuable as well. Charity is giving to people from your wealth so that they can have something, but it's doing it in a way that is out of love and kindness and for value of human life and that sort of thing. So, anyways, my point is, if you're negatively focused, or if you're negative and you're focused on yourself, you're going to be negatively focused about yourself, right? And that's not good, because everything that happens around you, you're going to take it and say, okay, how does that make me a worse person? Your siblings are having fun. That makes you feel like crap because you're not having that fun. Or they're whatever, better off in the world, they're smarter, faster, stronger, who cares? The point is that none of that has any, it doesn't change who you are. It doesn't change how valuable you are. You are infinitely valuable and just as valuable as each of them, regardless of whatever achievements they've accomplished in life or haven't.
Hmm.
Um, and you gotta, it's hard. I know, because I've been there. It's hard to stop thinking so negatively about yourself. But a lot of it comes from just understanding value of people, a value of human life, and understanding that, hey, look, I mean, like, we're all people. We all make mistakes. We all sometimes hate on each other or hate on ourselves. But the thing is, our value is infinite. And that doesn't mean that we should get away from with doing anything and we'll still be great people. No, you can, being a great person is different than being valuable, you know, um, or being, having human dignity, you know. Being a great person is when you're doing great things, and anybody can do that.
Hmm.
But being a valuable person is regardless of all the great or bad things you do,
Hmm.
is it's just what you are. And when, as soon as you start to see people around you that way, it makes it a lot easier for you to see yourself that way, because then you know your own value. I suggest you this. This is not a fun exercise, but experience this for a moment, Summer. Your siblings, you might get envious or angry at them, at your friends or your siblings. But imagine if they died right now, if they just died. Maybe it was horrific, a car accident, they get really beat up first, and then they pass after a period of time, whatever. Imagine that they're no longer with you, and that hate that you have in your heart for them, that envy, and then they're dead. That's not a good feeling. You don't want that feeling on your chest when they're gone, right? That's because they're valuable. That's because they are valuable. If you lose a life, you start to realize how important that life is because they're no longer in the world. And recommend maybe thinking about yourself a little bit more like that too. You know, you're valuable.
Mhm.
You, if if you were to disappear, your siblings, your friends would be extremely sad. They would feel an emptiness. The emptiness is not pleasant. The emptiness is a lack of value that they no longer have among them, you know? So I mean, that's not a very pretty example. It's kind of dark, but at the same time, I hope it helps you see, like, at least a little bit, like, look, people are valuable, and so are you. You are equally as valuable. So I think a lot of times asking the question of value helps people get over their depression, but it's not easy. Remember that it's habitual. It's habitually negative thoughts, and you just have to create a new habit and you'll get over it. And the second thing, if you don't create this habit, if you start to become a really positive person but you haven't gotten rid of the second habit, which is focusing on yourself all the time, you're going to become egotistical, and becoming egotistical makes you a jerk, right? No one likes people who are egotistical. You know, they don't care about anybody but themselves, etc. They think everything's awesome about themselves, but everybody else sucks. You don't want that. You don't want to be that kind of person. So you have to get rid of the second one too. Or if you just get rid of the second one and you're left with the first one, where you're only just negative and you don't think about yourself anymore, that's not so great either, because then you make other people negative also, because you're just being negative around everybody. And once in a while, unfortunately, you're going to have to think about yourself for a second. And in that second, you won't like yourself. So, um, yeah, do those things that make you proud. I'll tell you what, that's my last advice. Do the things that you know make you proud. You see the things that you say, I want to be that kind of man who does that. Do those things. It's not wrong to look at somebody else and be jealous of how awesome their virtues are. Because I'll tell you what, your brain craves those things. You as a person crave those things because they're good for you. You No one wants to be, you don't look, no one says, what kind of man do I want to be? And then lists off a bunch of bad things, right?
Mm.
We naturally want to be holy, wonderful, awesome, fantastic people. That's natural human desire. But the hard part is living it out, right? And so when you see it, you just have to do it. Do those things that you'll be proud of yourself for doing. And I'll tell you what, that'll change you. That will change a man. Just doing the things that you know that you'll be proud of. I'll tell you that changed me a lot. Um,
Mhm.
it wasn't easy. I had to force myself, but just doing them, oh my gosh, I will never look back and regret them. I always look back and say, wow, I did that. Holy crap, I'm awesome, right? Well, I don't care if anybody else thinks I'm awesome, but I feel a lot better about myself for doing those things.
Mhm.
And you know what? I feel a lot better about humanity in general and other people for doing those things, because I see that I've done them. I say, okay, other people can do these things too. Wow. You know? So, anyways, I said a lot. My bad. All right. I'll
No,
let Joe talk now.
not your bad because you took everything I was gonna say, so now I don't have to say much.
Okay, good. Just say whatever's left.
And Summer, you I know you've got other things you gotta do here, and I know you were thinking about, uh, stepping out here, and I appreciate you sticking around.
Mhm.
Um, but, the only things I would say, I mean, I would say everything that Ryan just said, first of all. Second of all, I don't know if I wanna do this.
You've got nothing left. I've already said everything else. So do no,
I
just
don't
kidding.
I know, but this is actually like a physical thing,
Hmm.
and if anything okay, I'm gonna do it. There's this thing I learned about, like, okay, now we're dealing with the getting out of bed part, okay?
Hmm.
Like Ryan said, move your legs, that's huge, and here's the thing, if you're having trouble getting out of bed, there's this, like, little bouncing exercise thing that I learned
Hmm.
because it was well, and for those of you who know about my, attempt at trying to sleep less and less and less and my experiment with that,
Mm-hmm.
how I would get things going, moving your body does a lot to cure depression and help help get you going, help you be focused and awake and all this kind of stuff. And it was a really simple thing. Should I demonstrate it or explain it?
If you try to explain it and it doesn't seem like you're getting your point across, then go ahead and just demonstrate it.
Okay. It's really simple. You just you stand up and you bounce, you know, you bounce your I'm gonna just do it. Okay.
All right.
There's like three elements to this, okay? You get out of bed, maybe you're tired, maybe you don't want to be up and all this kind of stuff. And here's the other cool thing about this. You're gonna make fun of me for doing it, and you're gonna laugh at yourself when you do it, which will help your
Nice.
endorphins because then you're laughing at yourself because you're gonna be like, I look like a total idiot.
That's great. Actually, learning how to do that will cure depression a lot too, because then you're being able to laugh at yourself and be like,
Right.
wow.
So let's see. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Let's see if I can actually be where you can see me. Okay. And if you're wearing like super red shorts, that helps.
Yes, yes.
But so okay. So the idea is you start with just bending your knees and bouncing like this. Let your arms dangle. And you start by just doing that. And then the next part is your hands are dangling there, right? Your arms are just hanging. And so then you just kind of let your hands do this, right? So then they just kind of move with the bounce. And then you're doing this. So now you're getting blood
Nice.
to your fingertips and you're getting blood flow to your feet because you're doing this bouncing thing, right? So
Nice.
that's two elements. Now the third element is the breathing. You want to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And when you breathe in, you move your head back. And when you breathe out, you move your head forward.
Nice.
And that's it.
Clap, 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 clap. Applause,
Do
applause.
that for
Do
like a
that.
minute.
Wow. I gotta
And
try that.
yeah, I'm telling you, man, if you're having a hard time getting out of bed, that gets blood moving. And then before you know it, you're able to like just move. And then all of the envy and anger and man, Ryan said it before, and I've said it before on other streams, and I'm going to say it again. You, Summer, are valuable. And I'll say it again. You are valuable. And if you need to go back and listen to this little section, I'm talking to you, Summer. You are valuable. And then give something to somebody without any expectation of anything in return.
Mhm.
Give something that maybe something that you like.
Or do an action, like
Yep,
wash the dishes
or
for your mom.
do
So
something for somebody. Give of yourself just for the sake of giving. I know that when it comes to money, one of the key elements of building wealth is giving to somebody less fortunate than you without any expectation of anything in return. And it doesn't have to be a lot, you know, but to just when one of the things that key financial advisors will say is, man, I just need to figure out how to be less stressed about money. Then give some money away. Well, that seems counterintuitive. If I'm stressed about money, it's because I don't have enough. Like, I don't have as much as I want. I'm not stressed about money because I have too much of it.
right.
Like, and you're telling me to give some away, and they're like, yes, the problem isn't the amount of money you have. The problem is the way you're thinking about money. And you're grabbing too much at it. And so that's causing stress. The most fulfilled person in the world is someone who gives everything of themselves. And then without any, just for the very fact that they love somebody, they just give themselves to that person, that cause, whatever. And when you wear yourself out in something noble, or when you give of yourself, you give of your time, you give of your money, you give of other things that you have, when you give, you are more fulfilled than you ever have been before. I'm telling you, you don't have to give a lot, but I dare you to try it. I dare you to try giving somebody something, whether, like Ryan said, doing something for someone or giving them something, you know, just because you want to give them something, not because you're expecting something in return.
Hmm.
But and it's amazing the fulfillment that comes from that and the happiness that comes from that. So
Yeah,
that's it.
that's true.
That's what I got.
There you go. Okay. Well, thank you guys. Um, we've gone for an hour and a half now. Yeah.
Have we?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we only got to like two questions or three. Um, uh, I think,
So I was looking at the comments of when I was bouncing. Thanks,
yeah.
guys.
What do they say? They say it's pretty hot, right?
Bouncy boy.
A lot of water.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yes. And wearing red shorts. What's the red shorts? I saw the red shorts one. Oh, wearing the color red makes your blood pump faster.
That's great. Yes, the more red on your body, clearly the more your blood is pumping.
Yeah.
Even
You
if it's just
probably
clothing.
Vivian, you probably have seen your grandma do it because it's something that somebody of all ages can do. It's a very, very simple uh
Routine
exercise. Yeah. It
exercise.
doesn't matter your level of physical fitness. You can do it.
Well, unless you're handicapped,
That's true. Yes.
but yes. Nice.
But yeah, so do we want to handle one more?
Um, I suppose we could. Yeah, let's do it, and we'll call it. I'm
Okay.
sure. I think Jesse's been posting any of them that we've gotten. So, yeah,
Has he?
I think so. He mentioned something about that. But
Jesse,
anyways,
if you haven't been posting anything, then start.
there you go. There's this verbal answer. So this one's
Uh,
from Vivian Lynn. I hope Vivian is still here. Um, actually,
yeah,
they are. Yes, they
Vivian
are.
just yeah, just posted something.
So Vivian Lynn said this. How do you guys have, or sorry, how? No, do you guys have any advice for dealing or coping with parents who aren't exactly supportive or positive about you? Verbal and emotional abuse help? Question mark.
Oh, you
Go
were
ahead.
asking.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay.
My bad. I didn't say
Um,
anything. I just let it sit there for a second.
yeah, no, boy, what a tough situation, Vivian. I'm sorry that you have to deal with that. Um, because man, depending on how much longer you have to live with your parents, um, I mean, they're always going to be your parents. Even after you move out. I mean, I guess sometimes people break all contact with their parents at some point if the situation's hard enough. But some, most of the time, we're gonna have some level of contact for our entire lives. And boy, it's so hard being in a relationship that's abusive. And um my answer, there's a few things, because while you're with your parents, I mean, there's a level of respect that, we all have to give our parents because they're our parents, you know, and without them we wouldn't exist. And man, they probably don't realize what they're doing.
Probably.
More than likely, what it is it's a communication issue, that they're not able to express what they want to get across to you in an effective way. um I know that I've I've dealt with that challenge with my kids before. My kids are quite young still, but I know there have been times. Now I love my two sons, I love them, and I would never want to do anything to hurt them, and I'm always trying to figure out how to be a better dad. What can I do to help them, grow up as good young men. um and but there are times, when as a parent, when I'm exasperated, there are times when every single one of us gets to the end of our rope at some point,
Mhm.
no matter how long your fuse is, there is an end to it, and sometimes it can be very frustrating as a parent when you're watching your kid do something that isn't right, or something that you think isn't right, whatever, maybe I'm not, and another thing is I might be coming into the situation and not know the whole story. They might be in a funk because of some other stuff that's going on, and my response, because of other stuff that I'd been dealing with, is, "Oh, come on, just get over it." When the proper response would have been for me to put my arm around them and ask them what happened, and I always try and do that where it's like, "No, I want you to be able to come to me and talk to me," you know? So, um, at some there are a couple things. First of all, understand that more than likely your parents love you and they want what's best for you, and they just are having trouble because of other things going on in their life or whatever, something's going on, because they're people too. They struggle too, you know. Every single person, we don't outgrow struggles. Most of the time what happens is we graduate to new struggles. You know, like, we figure out struggles that we have now and then we just get some new ones. There's always another one. And we take the wisdom we learned from the previous struggle and we apply it in the new situation, and we use that to get past it quicker. And before you know it, you're dealing with these struggles, boom, 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 just quickly. You're just, knocking them down as quick as they appear, until the next doozy. And then, then it's
But
like,
along the
oh
way, you're
no.
becoming a better and more a great person in many different ways.
What's that?
But along the way, you're becoming a better person, influencing other people's lives and everything along the way.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And this experience that you're dealing with, this abusive relationship that you are in the middle of, is building you. Like Ryan said before, we grow through pain. It's very painful. Verbal and emotional abuse is, oh my goodness, that is the hardest, at least for me. I remember hearing a guy talk one time and he said, list the biggest problems, the 5 biggest problems you have in your life right now, and I guarantee at least 2 of them are dealing with relationships with other people, and that's literally true, because, you know, that is some of the most painful stuff. You might be on top of the world in some aspect, maybe in school or in sports or in music or money or whatever. You might be on top of the world, but if you have a relational issue, it can suck the life right out of all those other accomplishments so quickly, and it can just drain you. And so I know that is tough. And so, for one, understand, if somebody is hurting you emotionally or verbally, then 9 times out of 10, they are also hurting in some way. And so it helps sometimes to take a step back and remember that this person is in pain. They wouldn't be causing me pain if they weren't themselves hurting in some way. And that that's so true all the time. I've been in relationships that are so abusive. Uh yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just reading Vivian's
Mhm.
expanded a little bit on this. Sometimes it gets to be too much, especially with people you need to trust the most.
Yep.
Uh, if they're the ones that hurt you the most, it hurts. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And I've dealt with that, people extremely close to me, people that I have so close of a relationship with, that have been so abusive. and hard to deal with and like no way out of it. And I know that I'm going to be in this relationship, you know, and but it hurts so much. And, you know, I can't, I can't fully answer this without getting into the faith side of things. And I apologize if that offends anyone, but praying helps a great deal. And I would say praying for the people that are hurting you. And that pain, I mean, because really ultimately what you're looking for is to be healed from this pain. You know, it hurts, and through that pain you'll be stronger. Of course, if you take it, if you use it properly, you will grow and be stronger, and you'll be more of an influence and more of a blessing to the people around you because of the strength that you've gotten. Um, and I tell you, healing, one of the things I've learned is that in order for you to grow through this, there has to be a healing process. And as difficult as it is, healing comes through forgiveness. And that is so difficult. It is so hard sometimes because sometimes people do things to us that we feel are just unforgivable. But everything, I mean, in order for any of us to heal from wounds that are that deep, especially from people that are that close, there needs to be forgiveness. And you don't have to forgive them to their face. The forgiveness, I mean, it helps too, but mainly the forgiveness has to be inside you. And and that's why it helps to take a step back and say this person is hurting. They don't know what it is that they're doing because they're in pain. They're not thinking properly, and I'm caught here in the crossfire and I'm getting hurt by this. But the real issue is that they're hurting, and at that point you can forgive them. I Even if you just say it in your head, I forgive this person for this thing they did. And you might have to do it daily. You might have to do it 3, 4, 5, 10 times a day. Something happens and you're like, I forgive that person. I forgive that person. And if you get in the mode of forgiveness, you will also get in the mode of healing. And inside you, you will heal. These wounds will heal. Now you may still have scars, but the pain won't be nearly as deep, and you will be able to find some joy. Because the problem with resentment, because most of the time when people hurt us, it's our nature to hold on to it and to hold it against them and to just be mad about it. And we never heal that way. And in fact, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Like, we drink the poison and we expect them to get hurt by it. Like, it
Mhm.
just doesn't work. So, through forgiveness, you stop drinking the poison yourself. And even though that hurts, I know, just remember they're hurting too. And your healing will come when you're able to forgive. And so, you know, pray for that, pray for them, and just understand that. And I'm so sorry. I'm so glad that you brought this to the stream today, because it took a lot of guts to do that. It takes a lot of guts to post something where, you're having a challenge that can be that deeply hurtful, and share that with the world. And man, and I really appreciate you. And uh my heart goes out to you, Vivian. I'm so sorry, and I hope that it can get better. Well, Ryan, you have anything?
Yeah, sure. Vivian, yeah, that sounds really hard. And unfortunately, we can't really suggest too much to change your position because, we're not talking to your parents. You know, there are, I guess, two things I could say. One thing is on that note I just talked about, maybe you could talk to your parents about it. Obviously, you probably have already. You've probably spoken up and said something like, hey, it's hurting. It hurts me when you guys say this. And maybe they're doing it on purpose because they're in a broken place. They're broken inside or whatever. They're not thinking straight. But my suggestion wouldn't necessarily to be just to bring it up with your parents and say like, hey, you're hurting me, because that's, I mean, even sometimes when you're scolding a child, they'll say, you're hurting me. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point because you need to learn and pain is how you learn. Right. So you're hurting me isn't necessarily going to help your situation. But what you might be able to do, and now this will take a lot of effort on your hand, on your side, but you can change people by stepping up and changing who you are,
Mm,
um, and changing how you respond and changing how you act in front of them. Um, if you lift them up more, if you spend more time making them feel good about who they are, if you spend more time lifting them up rather than allowing them to be down, they're going to start treating you better because they won't feel down as much to begin with. It's not going to be because you've earned it, but it's going to be because you're changing the way that they think. Um, so by lifting them up, it's not going to encourage them to do more harm, but by lifting them up, it's going to lessen the amount of desire they have to do harm. Because
mhm.
it sounds to me like your parents are not happy with themselves. People who are abusive aren't the type of people that are proud of themselves. People
No.
who always put each other down or have trouble supporting other people or investing in their ideas, um, those type of people are always at odds with themselves. They're not very supportive of themselves even, and they're having a hard time in life. And so
Mhm,
by spending time with them to make them feel better, to have help them have an enjoyable time, especially around you, that'll that will retrain their mind a little bit. It's not like it's going to happen in a one day thing. It's going to be something that'll happen over a couple of months. That's the only suggestion I could make to you because we can't change your parents and you can't change your parents just by bringing it up.
mhm,
But you can change your parents by being an influence. Even though you're the child, you can be an influence on your parents.
mhm,
Trust me.
mhm.
Trust me. You really, really, actually can. Like, I've seen it. I've been there. Not that I had to change my mom a whole lot, but how I act changes how my mom feels like she has to act.
Mhm.
If you approach your parents with a shyness in heart, with a discouraged attitude because of all the times they've hurt you before, with an expectation of pain, do you expect them to respond pleasantly? Because they're not, unfortunately. They aren't going to, if they haven't already, they're not going to see your pain and they're not going to go, honey, I'm sorry, and hug you. They're just going to feel the pain that you have entered into the room with and feel more pain themselves and more disappointment in themselves. And then that'll cause them to freak out on you again, unfortunately. It's really difficult, your situation. But my best advice is to approach them not with a shyness of heart, not with pain as the front, but rather, or a fear of being hurt again, but rather approach them and be with them and be kind and supportive and bright and joyful, to give them a sense of joy. But yeah, okay, so I've tried talking to them and we've gotten to deep conversations. She admitted she did a lot of bad acts. But then I can't understand why not only a week later she says extremely hurtful things.
Mhm.
Yes. This is exactly why. It's because your words, they're meaningful to her, but she's in this bad habit. Like we talked about habits before. It's a
Mhm.
subconscious thing. You get into a habit of doing something, and the only way out is to create new habits. Well, the wonderful thing is people influence other people. Even right now, you don't know it, but we're creating habits in your head you don't even know about. But you'll realize maybe a couple years later or never notice. No. Pulling the strings. Um, every video you watch, if you keep on watching terrible stuff, you're going to feel terrible or you're going to get terrible habits. Magic, yes. So being a light in your parents' life, it's not easy because it takes a lot of acting. Maybe you'd be pretending for a while, but I'll tell you what, that's that's important. You know, no one, if you just be yourself, you're never going to become someone better than yourself. And so you have to pretend like you're someone better or act like you're someone better or act like you're a strong person so that you can become strong, right? Um so yeah, my best advice is to try to change the habits of your parents by how you act around them. It's again, you're changing habits here, so it's going to take a couple of months,
Mhm.
but it's the only realistic thing, the only honest and realistic thing that you can do to change them because you've had that deep conversation, like I said, and they might have hurt you and they feel you and they feel bad about the things they do, but that's not going to change how their brain works. The only way to change how their brain works is to change their habits. And so you have to be really strong for them. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. And yeah, I'm
And
sorry that,
yes, you definitely have been growing mentally stronger for others.
yeah.
That's why we're here. We're not
Mhm.
here for ourselves. I love the lyric in No One's in This Alone, where Ryan,
Oh, wait,
uh,
I sang that song?
you did Science P,
Science Bay.
you know, um, where you're like, wow, oh, I forget the word. I forget all of the words, but it was like, who's to think we're just to pleasure ourselves? Who's to think we're
Yeah.
here just to pleasure ourselves? Like if we're just here for ourselves, that's a sad and empty existence, you know.
Mhm.
But
Well, then what do you
w-
amount to? Yourself?
mhm,
Well, what does
exactly,
yourself amount to if you
yeah,
amount to yourself?
exactly,
It's a loop.
exactly,
It never ends and it's just nothing.
right.
I mean it is something, but it's still you can amount to so much more.
Yep. Somebody's gonna come your way in the future, and they're gonna have an issue that you're going to be uniquely positioned to help them with because you went through this challenging time.
Mhm.
And without this challenging time, you never, ever, ever would have had the ability to handle it with them and to walk with them through it. And they will thank you with tears in their eyes and they will love you, because you did something for them that nobody else could. And the reason that you could help them was because of this challenge that you are in the middle of right now. And it's so hard, to think that way when you're in the middle of the challenge
Yes.
because we're faced with the challenge and it hurts. But then afterward, you're gonna be like, oh, dang. You're gonna have that light bulb moment. Like, I
Mhm.
never would have been able to do that if I hadn't experienced that back then. All that pain and suffering and torment, you know. Yep. You never would have been able to do it without it. And
Standing up to them.
I don't know.
Ah,
I know
sure.
you don't
Yeah.
want to hurt. Nobody likes to hurt.
Um, yeah, family problems are complicated. And the thing is, there's a difference between standing up for yourself and stepping on somebody. So just keep that in mind. Um, Standing up for yourself is not necessarily wrong. But you also have to respect your parents when you do that. It's important to put yourself out there and be honest and all of that. But yes, you have to respect your parents when you stand up to them. It's important for them to realize, like, hey, I'm an actual person and I don't want to be hurt, just like you don't want to be hurt. All of these things are important.
Hmm.
Um, and if your parents are in the wrong, it's important to stand up for what's right. But again, on top of that, you have to ultimately respect your parents. And so here's another thing I would suggest: it's okay to lose. It's okay. It's okay to lose.
I
In
do it all the
fact, yeah, I do it all the time too. I'll tell you what,
time.
there are people who are competitive out there. And that competitive drive is there because they want to win. I honestly don't really have that too much. I have a little bit of a competitive drive, but some people have a really big competitive drive, right? When I was a kid, when I lose a game or whatever, or an argument or whatever it was, if I was beneath somebody, I would have an emotional breakdown, right? I would freak out. I was a sore loser. But eventually I came to learn that losing, almost most of the time, losing put me in a better spot, because when I was able to lose, I was able to allow other people to be joyful. When I was able to lose, I was able to learn from my mistakes. When I was losing in an argument, one, I was learning, and two, I was allowed to have someone else feel good, which is important for me. I like when other people feel good, and I was allowed to give them that. um, and you know what? If I won the argument, I'll look back at it later and be like, "Can't believe I said all those mean things to them," right? But if I lose the argument, I just accept defeat. I have no regret. Like, the regret of, "Oh man, I didn't win that argument," is a lot weaker than than the issue of, I almost wish that they won the argument because now I feel bad for
Mm,
all the things I just did or said. You know, allowing them to win the argument was like, I can throw that away. Like, I won't remember that in 4 years. Who cares? Who cares about a stupid argument? If I said something really mean, hateful, I would care about that. You know. So, um, yeah, he would love respect on both sides. Right. Yeah, and that's a hard thing to achieve. But like I said, before, all you can do is just be your best and hopefully rub off on them some little bit respect and stuff. But like I was saying, yeah, it's okay to lose. It's okay to give in. It's, in fact, a good thing. It's okay to put yourself under other people's authority. In fact, here in America, sorry, but you've been brainwashed to think putting yourself under other people's authority is a bad thing.
mm,
Wrong.
yeah.
But America has taught you that. You know what? Europe has taught that to a lot of people recently as well, and so has Asia. A lot of times, or in a lot of places recently, authority has been seen as a bad thing, and has been for a couple of decades. You want to stick it to the man. Freedom is the opposite of authority. It's all of that is not true, and it's brainwash madness. Authority is a good thing, right? I
Hmm.
mean, learning from those who are wiser than us. Sometimes just giving in, even though they might be wrong about something. I'm not talking about morally wrong. If it's a moral issue, obviously, there's a point in which you have to cut and say, like I'm not going to do something immoral. But if it's just a matter of like, hey, look, I want this wrapping paper to be red and I don't want it to be blue. Okay, it's just how I want it. It's okay. It's okay to have authority. In fact, with authority, we get unison direction. We can all
Hmm.
go the same way and actually get something done. Without it, we're all going different ways and maybe nothing gets done.
Hmm.
Um, at least when there's a common project. Authority is good. Okay. And it's okay to give into authority. Um, and it's okay to silently just be like, okay, I'll do it, even though I don't want to, because you'll get over it, right? You will. You'll get over it. I'm not saying, hey, get over it. It's no big deal. I'm just saying you will. And with forgiveness comes a lot. Everything Joe said is super important.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, and what you were saying sparked something else that I really feel like I need to say practically what you can do. One thing is when you're maybe when the heat of the moment has passed after something has happened, after they've said some things that were very hurtful to you, you can go back, once the situation cools off a little bit, you know and like Ryan said about respecting authority, and that it's okay to put yourself underneath others, and in fact sometimes that's the most powerful place to be, because you can go in with a calm head. Now the key is to be calm, and when the emotions start to well up, do the best you can to not let those take over, but keep a cool head when you go through this. um but you can say, hey, you know I'm really sorry for what just happened. Some of the things that you said were really hurtful, and if I did something that made you angry, I don't want to keep doing that. And then, can you tell me, can you share with me something I can do so we wouldn't go through that again? Is there something that I'm doing that you don't like that I can change? And always put it on yourself, and, be willing to be the willing person. And a lot of times, a couple things will happen. Maybe they'll have something productive that you can actually do, maybe. A lot of times, if you come with that amount of contrition, they'll a lot of times people say, "Ah, you know what? I just exploded. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." And then, but if you take the first step and approach with that type of an attitude of saying, "Hey, this is a problem. I don't like this problem. I really want to fix it. What
and put
can
it on
I
yourself as much as
do?"
possible.
Yes, and put it on yourself, and just that. You know how much respect people have for a person who's willing to do that? It's amazing. When someone is going and saying, "I want to repair this problem. I want to fix this situation, you know, what can I do? Is there something that you're seeing in me that I can change or that I can do differently so we can not continue this? I really want to change this situation." And if you come in and don't say to them, "You need to do this different. You need to do that different. You need to do that different. What you said was hurtful. What you did was hurtful." Just say, "Hey, you know, that situation we were in, I was really hurt through that thing. And I want to know, I want to fix this. How can I, what can I do to fix it?" You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah, when you
and
come to the person who has the problem with you and you ask them what they would have changed about you so that you can fix it. I think that does so much because one, you're giving them the idea that you have respect for them, that you respect their actual thoughts and opinions. That is a two-way road because when you respect someone like that, they start to respect you.
hmm
And the next
almost
time that
automatically, almost
almost
without thinking about it.
right, it's just you open up a door and the doors open up to both of you. The second thing also that happens is next time when they're about to have that same explosion, sometimes that thought of you coming to them op- opens their mind up again and says, "Oh wait, no, I'm going to avoid this." Because it takes them a physical effort and it takes them thinking in their brain. After you ask them a question like, "Hey, what can I do to, solve this? Or what can I do that I was getting on your nerves that I won't, so I don't have to do it again?" You know, it makes them think about it and think about it in a way that's productive. So then what's funny is a lot of times they'll give you the things that they need to do themselves. And
Mm,
so then when they enter into the argument with you again the next time or whatever it is, they start to say something really mean, they've they remember because they took time and energy and thought process to explain that the issue shouldn't happen. And then when it does again, their brain will be like, "Hey," and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I need to take my advice too."
mm, mhm.
Um,
And
so it does a lot.
what you just said, Vivian, yes, it feels like weakness,
Mhm,
and yes, that's about pride. And yes, it does make you an easier target to attack again. So
mhm.
yes, you're absolutely right about that.
Yep.
And but I tell you what, if if you come and you make yourself vulnerable, I mean, frankly, you're kind of expecting they're going to attack again anyway, right? So I mean, most of the time, I mean, sometimes it takes getting to that point where it's like it just happens again and again and again and again and again and again, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, it's just going to continue happening. So it doesn't matter. It makes no difference what I do. It's going to happen anyway, you know? And so, but if you go in like that, if you go in calm, if you go in contrite, if you go in with a target on the issue rather on them, and then they attack you, well, that was going to happen anyway. So, okay, big deal. You know that you've been there before, you know. But when you show that the attack didn't do anything to you, that you were resilient to the attack, and when you come in exposed to the attack with your guard down, you're just like, "Hey, I just want to fix the issue." And then they attack you, well, it's not going to be as fun for them to attack you because you didn't respond the way they wanted you to. you know they weren't expecting you to come in just with your guard down, and then the attack didn't phase you because you were expecting it, and you had your guard down. You're like, oh, I know this is going to happen, boom. And then it does, and you're like, well, that's no big surprise. And then you can just be like, okay, maybe this isn't the right time to talk about this, but I do want to fix this issue. Maybe we'll talk about it later, you know and then that takes all of the fight out of them.
Yep.
When an
That's true.
attacker realizes that they're not going to harm you, then there's no point in attacking anymore.
Mhm. I'll tell you this. This is something that changed my mind completely. I remember running through this mental exercise in my brain, and then it was just like I was like, whoa. So it was is as simple as this. Everybody's different, right? Everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses and whatever. But okay, I remember being bullied in school and then watching other people being bullied by the same exact words, but we responded to it differently. And it made me realize that being offended was and how I was reacting was ultimately just a choice or a habitual reaction.
Mhm.
Someone could call me a big fat redneck or something.
And you are, Ryan, a big fat redneck.
And I would be like, okay, what I don't understand. I don't know where you're coming from, and that's not even offensive. But someone could call somebody else a big fat redneck and they would be like devastated, you know? What was the difference? Just how they perceived it. I remember someone calling me stupid and I was highly offended. But then they went and called somebody else stupid, and that person just was like, "I don't know what you're talking about. Get out of here." Like, I don't care, man. Or they're like, "Yeah, I am stupid. You're right. I have a lot to learn. I'll tell you what." And so there's so many different ways you can react to something, and it's all up to you. Um, and so yeah, sometimes we just react, and it's however we react. It's our habits. But if we take that 1 millisecond to step back and say, how am I going to react? Then you have control. And you can say, could be screaming in your face, and you can be like pretending you don't even hear them. Like, oh, is this English? I don't know. I don't really understand anything.
That can be
Doesn't really
dangerous, though.
matter. Yeah.
You
But
gotta gauge the situation.
yeah, don't do that. But my point is, a lot of it is up to you and how you react in the moment. Me and Joe both do, I used to, but Joe still does. inspections on houses. We go around, take pictures of people's houses. A lot of these houses are occupied, meaning there are people living in them. And
Mm.
they were not informed that we were coming to take pictures of their house for their bank. So a lot of people get really upset. Not a lot of people, but sometimes people get really upset and yell at you. And
Oh
they're
yeah.
really unprofessional and really mean or whatever. And they come at you full on attack mode, like they're trying to get up in your face, right? And then you just sit there calmly because me and Joe, we've dealt with people before. And the more we deal with people, the better we get at dealing with them. And we've
Mm.
learned to just stay calm and strong and be like, yeah, yeah, I understand that that's a problem. Like, that's terrible that the mortgage company is doing this, and I agree with you.
Mhm.
And they're like, and then all of a sudden they're diffused. They're not angry anymore because instead of reacting like they were acting, instead of reacting with aggression or getting back up in their face, trying to intimidate them,
Mhm.
we're just a pushover. We're just pushover, you know? And then they feel like, oh, wait, this person is a human being. Like this person is actually listening to me. Wow. Okay, cool. All right. You know, like it changes the entire thing, how you react. I've dealt with police officers coming to me and they've complimented me on the fact that I was just so loose and relaxed
Mhm.
about the situation. And they said, honestly, the thing that told me right off the bat that you weren't doing anything wrong was just your physical body, how you
Mhm.
held yourself, because
Mhm.
you didn't. Obviously, there is a sense of nervousness because the cop could put you in jail for any reason, even without a reason. He could handcuff you and throw you in jail. So there's that nervousness there, but at the same time, you're confident because you're like, I didn't do anything wrong, and you just sit there relaxed. And having that relaxed body position changes how you react mentally, also.
Mhm.
So being able to just relax in whatever the situation is helps your mind to start thinking more clearly. So if you feel like you're getting tensed up, physically tense up at least, stay relaxed, stay calm, stay slumped in your chair. Just let it blow over. Because a lot of it is actually something you can choose. You can actually choose how you react. So it does take a couple to try. I'll tell you, it's not
Yeah.
necessarily going to be your first time,
No,
but the more you
it
do
takes
it,
time.
the better you get at it.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was a
Yeah.
lot of advice,
Yeah, so
but
I'm
it's a
glad you're
complicated
still
thing.
here, Vivian, and I really appreciate you, expanding with us as we went through some of these things and offering some more things. I will say this at the very end of all that, it's almost like a race after a conflict. The more mature person apologizes first. The bigger person says I'm sorry first. So, it's almost like a race. Like at least that's the way I look at it. Like when I have a conflict with someone, and there's a relationship, I always try to be the first person to apologize because that means, haha, I'm the more mature person. And in my head, I know how immature I'm actually being because I'm like, yeah, haha, I'm the more
I'm better than you.
mature.
But at the same time, it's good.
And don't feel bad about going to your room and crying. Through tears comes healing. Through that pain comes healing. Through crying. Hey, it's part of life. And we love you, Vivian. And we're so glad you're here. We're so glad that all of you guys are here. My goodness. Darius, who is also Marcus. Um,
Nice.
and yeah, we had a whole bunch of people. But yeah, you guys are amazing. Yeah,
Hmm.
you're very welcome, Vivian. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you got this, Vivian. You got this.
You
You're always
got it. Yes, and be the more mature one. Apologize first.
Mhm.
And then you can do that little dance in your head.
Yeah.
Dee, dee, dee,
You can
dee.
even
I'm
dance in
more
your. You
mature.
can even dance
I'm the
at
more mature
randomness.
one. I said I'm sorry first.
Wow.
Mhm. You don't have to say that to them though. Don't
Yeah.
say it actually.
Yeah. Don't ever say
Don't.
that.
That's not something to tell them. I'm sorry, and I'm the more mature one because I said I'm sorry first.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll do you one good.
Joe
Yeah.
said it on Don't Worry Wednesday or Don't Flip Out Friday or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm gonna see if this works. Am I now static P?
Oh, snap.
You know, I
Joe, what are you doing
I
over
always
there?
wondered what it felt like to be static P.
How does it feel? I mean, it's really great to be Joe. I'll tell you what.
Man,
The responsibilities here. I feel it weighing on my shoulder, but
man, to
I'm proud of
be
myself.
static
Oh man.
P for a month. I'm just gonna relish in this for a minute.
Is the P standing for pleasant for you right now?
The P is yes,
Is it particularly pleasant and peaceful?
particularly pleasant. That would be static PP.
What's it stand for? Static poopy pants. Yeah, that's it. That's it, kid. So the P's there for.
That's right. Yes.
That's Joe's kid, by the way.
That
I know
was
that
my
from
son.
Joe.
My son was like, "What's the P stand for? Does it stand for poopy pants?"
Yeah, clearly, kid. Yeah, that's of all things, that's obviously it.
Ryan was like surprised and taken back by that. I was like, it was the first time I saw Ryan kind of just gonna be like, like he looked mad. I was like, no, that's supposed to be
Poopy.
funny, actually.
Static poopy pants.
Static poopy pants. So now I get to feel what it's like to be static poopy pants. If only I had the hair. Ooh.
Here you go. You can have some of it. Just a
But you know,
strand.
here's the thing. I remember
used to
having hair
have
like
them.
that. I
Yeah.
didn't have hair that long. It wasn't that long. Like that's majestically long hair.
Well, I wish it was thicker though, but thanks.
But I don't know how you do it, man. Because one of the things that was the most frustrating for me when I had long hair was waking up and putting my hand on it and having it like pulling my hair first thing in the morning because I put my hand on my bed and pushed up and, or get stuck in my armpit.
Yeah, I've never had that problem.
And it'd be like, and then I'd turn my head. Ah! I'm shaving my head. That's it.
You know, you should have just shaved your armpit. That way, the hairs wouldn't get tied together.
It wasn't the hair in my armpit that was catching on.
Yeah, it was. They were tying themselves together while you were sleeping.
I was squeezing my armpit.
With your hair?
Oh, it was wonderful.
Just get rid of your arm, man. What the heck?
Just cut that off. Why cut your hair? Cut your arm.
Yeah. I mean, in China, they would have, not China currently, but a certain period of time.
Yeah.
It was a very short period of time, but there was a season in which hair was so important to the Chinese that it would be more pitiful to have your hair cut than it would be to just actually die. And so they would say, "Kill me before you chop my hair off." And they would lose an arm, but they'd be like, "At least I still have my hair."
What season was that? Was it summer?
That was actually June.
June.
Yeah, so it was summer. It was. Yeah, it was pretty hot.
Man, I tell you, I feel so smart being static P right now.
Am
I still static P?
It was actually a amount of years.
So awesome.
Cool.
This is great. All right. So anyway, thank you guys so much for coming. I am now the host because I'm static P.
Oh, that's right. Go for it.
Yeah. This has been another edition of Don't Worry Wednesday on a Friday.
On Friday.
Produced by Jesse V. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our stellar, amazing producer, man.
Yeah.
Who's been giving us comments like, you guys have been on here for like 2 hours. Are you ever going to shut up?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
To paraphrase, you know, that's kind of like what he said.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he ever said the part with the shut up, but
that's what I read. I read in 30 seconds, it's going to be 2 hours. Please, like, stop talking.
Please stop. Oh, please, just stop talking. Please stop.
Like and at the time, I think Ryan was talking, so I read that and I'm like, I'm not the one talking. Ryan's talking.
Yeah. And that time it was like 15 minutes ago or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys that are still here, man, oh man, you're still here.
Wow.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's see how long we can get this outro to last.
Are you serious? We're gonna do that again?
I'm just kidding. No. Woo!
How long can we go on a stream?
Yeah. How long does it take to say goodbye?
I don't know. Sooner or later, somebody's gonna have to go to the bathroom, or else I'll be truly static poopy pants.
I'll change positions at that point.
It's,
So
it's,
that I don't have
it's
to
a
even
kind of a crude thing to say.
yeah. No, that was a very beautiful picture in my mind. Not crude at all.
Seriously, did you just cut us off?
I could end the
It's
stream
tough
here.
because Jesse's in control, man.
Yeah.
Like he could totally just like shut it down anytime he wanted to. Like, yep, that's the end of that thought. Boom, gone. End screen. He's not even gonna count us down. He counts us down at the beginning. It's very helpful because then we know when we're about to come on. But then he doesn't cut us down. Cut us down. He doesn't count us down at the end. He just says, we just sit there and it's like, are we done? Yeah, you guys are done. Oh, good.
Yeah. We're like, okay.
Well, I guess we're done. So on that note, we should do the outro. Ryan. I mean, CD VNL. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it has been a wonderful experience working with you, Static P.
Yes.
I hope to further our career and endeavors, especially with this program. Helping people seems to be a very enjoyable thing.
Yes.
And I sincerely hope that everybody here has had a wonderful time and has grown in some way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And that the advice that we give really does help. But anyways, thank you all. Much bless. Bye bye. I love you. See
Love
you
you guys.
next Wednesday.